All right. It's our first episode. I'm so excited. What are the topics you wanted to cover today?
Well,
Because I know you made a
I think
list.
we kind of wanted to go over like what we're doing here, who we are, what we're doing, what kind of conversations we want to have, like looking forward into this first season of the podcast, and talk about some of the exciting things we've been working on. We have been having our noses to the grindstone since like July or August, so I feel like there really is a lot to share.
Yeah. So starting with the first one, who we are and what we do. Do you want to go first and just share I think it's good to give people insight into our story of how we got into our field and kind of walk them through that journey. So looking at Caitlin, what's your story? How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, I was telling you off air that I've been reflecting on this a lot in the last couple of weeks. There have been, some things that have happened that have, caused me to kind of reflect more on the past, I don't know, like 5 to 8 years of my life that has brought me to this point. I'm a holistic hormone health coach, a Pilates instructor, fertility awareness instructor. And, I always said, like, when I first started the Spring to Life method, I always said that, like, you know, me 10 years ago would never believe that I am talking about periods as like a job because it was
Mm-hmm.
something that felt so taboo and like I knew nothing about before. But I really have just embraced this whole new world. But it didn't start with hormones for me. When I was in my mid 20s, I lost my dad to cancer, which was it was really horrendous to watch because he'd always been this really vibrant, robust, like seemingly healthy guy,
How old
not like
was
a
he?
health freak by any means.
How old was he?
He was 56.
Okay.
So like pretty young. I was 25, about to be 26, I think. So he had prostate cancer. He had been having some symptoms for a while, but then when he finally went in to get diagnosed, the Western medical doctors immediately were putting him on Lupron shots and chemotherapy and all of these interventions. And at that same time, my mom was doing a bunch of research into like holistic remedies for cancer, and you're looking up like cannabis oil and CBD and vitamin C drips and all of these things. And being in Illinois, where they were, I was in California at the time, they didn't have access to like even a vitamin drip. Like that's something in California that you can just walk off the street and get a vitamin C IV in your arm. But for them, like my mom asking for that at the doctor, they're like, no, you can't do that. And after you get a treatment, they're like, oh, just have some McDonald's on the way home. Like there's no thought to like how you're fueling your body.
Why do you think, since your parents were in Illinois and there wasn't so much access to holistic health, how did your mom get to a place where she was looking into that? Was it pure desperation or did she have some sort of background in it?
I think it was more desperation. Like I think she recognized how serious the situation was, and they immediately started, giving him shots and putting him on treatments. And it was very clear that he was getting sicker every time these things happen. And my dad was just kind of trusting the doctors and going along, and like he would kind of listen to my mom, but she was trying to put him on like a strict elimination diet, mostly like vegan, a lot of plant-based foods. And there, when you go down and this was like 10 years ago now, going down the rabbit hole on the internet of trying to like find these other people. I think there was one called like Chris Beats Cancer that she was really into reading. There were some nurses that had blogs and things about how to holistically treat the cancer. But another big part of it that I now recognize is like your mentality plays a huge role in your healing as well. So even though he would try some of the stuff that my mom would research, he didn't necessarily believe that it was going to work for him. He didn't have this mindset of like, I'm definitely going to get healthy. In fact, like, I'm pretty sure he was accepting of the fact that he was going to die eventually, which
Mhm.
is so sad because there is just no hope really given to you.
Right.
throughout that process. So it was just really hard to watch somebody that was so healthy just be reduced to not being able to get out of a chair at the end and looking older than his own father. Like it was crazy the progression of the aging. And I just remember like I went home a couple times before he died because it was clear that he wasn't getting better. And I just remember thinking, what is like, how could this happen? I never thought this would happen to somebody in my family, something so serious. And it just made me question everything that I thought I knew about being healthy because up until that point, I'd been a professional ballet dancer and I was thin and I was strong and I was, you know, I didn't eat dairy and I was avoiding this and avoiding that. And I thought I was healthy. But then after I lost him and I was back home in California and kind of, I was at a crossroads because I had also stopped dancing and I was trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. And I started to realize that I didn't feel that good. Like I had headaches all the time. I had brain fog. I would crash in the afternoons. My skin was horrible. Like I had acne everywhere. I had trouble digesting a lot of different foods. And around that time, I enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and just kind of became my own guinea pig as I was learning all of this stuff about health. And it was great. Once I started incorporating an elimination diet and getting processed foods out of my diet, the changes in my health and my skin were just like so instantaneous. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible how food is medicine. Like you can heal so much through what you're eating and supplementing, and you can learn so much from doing blood work. It was just amazing to me. And then I learned about the female menstrual cycle, and it was like, I've been lied to my whole life, made to feel like I should be like a boy, like I should be able to exist and operate like a boy. But then you go through these hormonal fluctuations throughout the month, and maybe at the beginning of the month, you do feel like you can keep up. And the next 2 weeks roll around, and you just feel like you got hit by a truck because you're not pacing yourself because you don't know how to do it. And it was just, I was getting Pilates certified at the same time. And I just started to see all of these things click where I was like, if I had known some of these things about my body at a younger age as a young dancer, I probably would have been able to fuel myself better. I would have had better self-confidence. I would have been able to take care of my body better. And I just knew that there were so many other women out there that were, dealing with the same kind of issues. And it just feels like a dead end and you're just handed birth control, you know, to
Mhm.
like slap a band-aid on it. And I was like, can't do this anymore. It just felt like this is suddenly like my sole purpose to share this information with other people. And so I guess that's how I've arrived here.
Yeah, that's a powerful story. I mean, I'm so sorry that all that happened with your dad. I'm glad that like you've experienced the gateway into holistic health and like your mind has opened up so much more. It's really cool to see. And I feel like you have such a transformation story.
Yeah, I just remember looking at my dad and being like, I can't watch somebody else that I love go through this, like whether it's friends or family, like there has to be action. I think that that's kind of the beauty of schools like the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It's their philosophy is that you're going to create a ripple effect in your
Hmm.
community. Because once you know how to take care of yourself, you're going to influence others in how to take care of themselves. And it just creates this ripple effect of health in your community. And I think that that's so important, especially now and today.
Yeah, it is. My story is so my mom went to school for nutrition. She went to school, she got a college degree in her 30s. She had already had 4 kids at that point, and she went to school for her bachelor's for the first time. She wanted to study nutrition. Back then, I think it was the education system was like even less indoctrinated than it is now, but nonetheless still indoctrinated. But I think she was really motivated by nutrition. And I bring up my mom because it's a big part of my story too. When my when my brother was born, he had a vaccine and then he passed 3 months later.
Oh
But
my gosh.
I wasn't born yet. So then my mom had me, I had vaccines, and I had adverse reaction. So my mom basically started looking into vaccines and kind of digging down this rabbit hole and thinking maybe they're not as safe or not as, the risks aren't as explained. And so my mom kind of was on this path where it was like she was studying nutrition. She was going on the education route with the food pyramid in full swing. And then at the same time, she was like having these revelations. So she now is a registered dietitian and diabetes educator who works in a hospital, but so much of her education and her own thinking, it kind of collides in a way. But all that to say, I had this unique background where like my mom was a registered dietitian and a nutritionist, and I got to like learn from her about food, but she also had a really open mind to like holistic methods. So I was brought up in a cool way in that way. I too was like in peak physical form when I was in college. I like specifically my freshman year of college, went to school at 18. I would work out so hard. I would lift probably 5 days a week, cardio, all of it. Was in like very good physical shape. Um, and like I said, since I was raised by my mom, I like knew how to eat healthy-ish, not like super clean or anything, but I could I could make a balanced plate, you know? Um, but I went on this trip to California and came home. It was a 3-month trip. I came home, I was 19. It was, again, peak physical form of my life. Within like few weeks to a couple months, I gained like 20 pounds. I had acne all over, which I had never had acne in my whole life. All of a sudden, I have cystic acne like everywhere. Was like really going through it mentally, like was really unsure what kind of mood swings were happening. All the like clear signs of hormonal imbalance. And it really took me going to so many different doctors. Like I remember when I first went to this doctor, my mom wanted me to go to her because it was a female doctor. And I went to her. I think my mom went with me. And I was like, something's wrong. Oh, I didn't get my period for 3 months. That was like the biggest thing for me because I had always been like regular. And when I went to this doctor, she like looked me in my face and was like, I think this is just your body now. And I just remember leaving and being like furious because I was like in so much like agony, like in my whole body, like not getting my period, so miserable, anxiety, depression, acne everywhere. This like weight that just, and it just like took over my life. And I was so angry that she was basically just like, too bad this is your life. And I was like, I remember leaving being so angry and being like, no, I will not accept that. Like, if anyone knows me, I'm a very strong willed person. Like, no, I just will not accept that. So I went to all sorts of doctors. Like, I remember going to a dermatologist, going to an endocrinologist, like cardiologist, because I was having heart palpitations a lot. I have like a whole list of specialists that I went to. I had like at one point like surgery in my mouth to try and reduce some of the tension, like pain I was having in my neck. I just went through so many different things trying to like tests, appointments, trying to get to the bottom of it. I think over time, I just realized that like this isn't working. Everyone is siloing my body. I know that it's hormone related. And so hormones became that like gate for me. And I started getting obsessed with hormones. And it was actually a male gynecologist that said to me one time, I think you have PCOS and you need to like do some research, like find a blog, find a diet and like try it. And he was another like gateway for me. I was like, what the heck is PCOS? No female doctor had mentioned that to me. He was like, yeah, I think that's what you have. So I was kind of like informally diagnosed with PCOS and went down. I started just like doing my own research, became obsessed with hormones, obsessed with figuring it out. And it's been a journey that's like almost a decade ago, like 8 years about. And yeah, it's led me here. Now I'm a functional hormone specialist. I got my certification with the International Association for Functional Hormone Health. I studied yoga and became a yoga instructor, and have done a lot of self-study and self-research on just holistic health in general. I really feel like I can't get enough of it. Like I love it. And like you, like I feel like your pain becomes your purpose because you're just like,
Mhm.
for me, like this wiped out my early 20s because I was just feeling like, on, get through.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, can we just take a moment for the indignity of being told that this is just how your body is now?
Yeah, I was like, thanks, mom. I hate that doctor.
That is so absurd. But honestly, like I didn't, when I was dealing with the brunt of my symptoms, I wasn't really going to see a doctor, but it was just in my head that like, oh, a migraine, that's normal. Oh, getting tired, that's normal. Yeah, I'm getting older. I'm in my mid 20s.
Right.
It just was like this quote unquote normal symptom. But then you get to the point where you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I don't recognize the face that I'm looking at anymore. And it's like
That's such a
something
real
has to
feeling.
be wrong. Yeah. It's so wild. And I think that, I mean, both of our stories, I think, are just evidence to the fact that you really have to be your own advocate. If you are not cheering for yourself, if you're not advocating for yourself, nobody else is going to step up and do it for you. Like you really have
Mhm.
to arm yourself with the knowledge that you need to take care of your body.
Yeah. And not to be depressing, but like a lot of the systems that we do have, I don't want to like be dramatic and say have failed us, but like there's just not enough to go around. Like I talk about this in my health advocacy toolkit. It's like love doctors, like respect them. They have incredibly hard jobs and they're probably the best of society who want to help people and go to medical school. But then they get into this system and they have 15 minutes to spend with you. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, you've been suffering for like 6 months. And so, how do you bridge that gap of like, listen, I've been suffering every moment for the past like 6 months with all of these things. And they're like, okay, I got like 3 minutes left. Then I got to go. So it's like, there's a gap and we have to bridge it. And like in my health advocacy toolkit, I actually created tools for people to like bring your doctor everything, like track your symptoms, know how to like go there prepared and like send it to them beforehand so they can look it over. You save the time that you would spend in the office trying to like recall your symptoms off the top of your head and explain things to them. Give it to them in a chart. They can look over it and like put the puzzle pieces together before you even get there. And like
Yeah.
that is a strategy that I have created that has helped me so much now in working with the current doctor I do have. Is like, I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste my time. So, like, here, I'm going to give you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, if you think about the contrast of time, like we talked to Dr. Carney last week, who's a naturopathic doctor, and I think she said she spends between 60 and 90 minutes with her patients,
Mhm.
and like 30 to 45 minutes on like a follow-up visit. That's so much more time to get into the details of like what you are experiencing and examining your labs and looking at your cycle tracking and all of this different stuff. And the unfortunate thing is that those kind of doctors are not available to everybody everywhere. It's not
Mhm.
always accessible. And I think that the tools like your health advocacy toolkit and the education that we want to provide through this podcast and just through our platform in general and helping people to bridge that gap and be able to advocate for themselves and feel in control of their health. Because I think that was really like my biggest turning point is I realized that like I feel like a victim in my body. Like I feel like all of this stuff is happening to me and I didn't realize that there was anything I could do to fix it. I just thought that that was my reality. And it sucks. Like you're not happy when you feel like that.
Yeah.
So it's about, like getting in the driver's seat, taking that steering wheel in your hands and driving yourself down like the healthy lane.
Right. Because, like, what's the alternative? You're just a victim to whatever your doctor says, like, and what happens when that doesn't help? It's
Yeah.
like always choose the option of hope.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, imagine if you had just taken that first doctor's word at face value and believed that that was what your body was supposed to be like from now on? Like, how
Yeah.
different would your life be right now?
I would be a victim. Like I would be throwing myself a pity party every day for sure. Cause I was at the time. Like,
Yeah. And like, is there any like fulfilling part of your life when you feel like that? I mean, I know I had anxiety and depression. Like my mental health was not peak, was not peak at that time. So it's just so hard to really like find that zest in your life when you're not in control. And I think
yeah.
it
And
sucks that there are so many people in our country. We've seen the numbers. You know, I think a lot of people have heard Dr. Casey's statistics by this point, but it's not good. The prediabetes, the diabetes, the obesity, just general unhealthiness. We all deserve better.
yeah. And I want to say this one thing, and then we can move on to the next thing that we wanted to cover in the podcast. But a strategy too to get me out of like the victim mindset and feeling like I'm just at the mercy of symptoms and the systems is like it's a really big mind shift of creating kind of like a language with your body where I interact with my body so differently than I did then. And now everything is curiosity. Like I'm anxious. What's that about? Like I feel depressed today. Like, what, like, where am I not like sparking joy? Like everything feels much more of like a dance and a language. And I feel like that has been the true transformation for me. Like I still have health problems. Like I'm in Lyme protocol right now going through my own treatment and I'm still, experiencing it. But the relationship with my body and my health and the deep like curiosity that has grown rather than just like, oh, I just have to like fix this thing. Like, no, actually, there's like a whole world to be discovered behind.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. And I think it kind of goes back to like not being a victim in your body and realizing that your body is always talking to you. If you're experiencing a symptom, it's not, I mean, it might feel like an assault on you, but it's your body saying, hey, pay attention, like something's not right. And it's your duty to go inward and ask yourself, what's going on. And you might not have the answers yet, but, through research, for asking questions, through connecting with professionals, seeking the correct medical advice, you can start to figure it out. And it's really freeing that way.
Yeah, like I think Zach Bush does a really great job covering this kind of conversation, but he's a great tool. But like the kind of relationship that we are educated on and that the medical system currently teaches us is like problem and fix, And it's like our bodies are like, is truly alive. It's not like a break and fix kind of situation. And I hope
Yeah.
that for anyone listening, for anyone dealing with symptoms, they would be able to develop that relationship with their life and with their health, that they would be able to see it from a perspective of like, this is a,
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back, you kind of mentioned like when you were trying to figure out what's going on with you, that you were being siloed by all of these different specialists, when in reality, everything is connected. And I think that is, a point that we are going to just continue to drive home through the podcast and, through other offerings that we might have, is that you can't just isolate one symptom and look at that. You have to look at the whole body. You have to acknowledge that everything is connected. Like nothing exists in a vacuum when it comes to your health.
yeah, that I drill that too in my health advocacy toolkit is like, that's why it's so important to track your symptoms. Because would I have realized that my canker sore was related to my menstrual cycle? No, it's a sore in my mouth. But when you become aware that everything is connected, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
cannot unsee it.
you can't.
It's almost a curse sometimes. I mean,
What
I think
else?
kind of from, just what we've been talking about, it kind of gives an idea of the topics that we want to cover moving forward, but I know I'm really excited about a couple of the things that we'll be bringing to the podcast soon. We have already a couple of great expert interviews. Sophia Ruan, who is a non-toxic living expert. We had Dr. Nicole Carney on, who's a naturopathic and fertility expert. And there's going to be many more. What are you most excited to talk about?
Yes, there's so much. And then on top of that, obviously, like our disconnection with food, right? Like we just show up at the grocery store, it's just there, it's packaged, we get it, we go. But I am really working right now on like building a deeper relationship with the food that I buy and like understanding its source, hunter gatherer experience of getting our food. And so that relationship has been broken in some way. So I'm excited to talk about kind of the ways in which our modern society is experiencing a huge shift and how we can like empower ourselves to take control of that and that like language that we're speaking with this new way of living and figure out like a work in progress how to make sure that our biology is getting what it needs in the modern world.
Yeah, I love your perspective on that. I'm so excited to continue weaving that into the podcast. I think it's going to be so juicy to talk about, but also like so helpful for people. We are like house plants. We need
We are
sunlight and water, you know, like if you
like
think about it like that, taking care of yourself becomes very simple, but at the same time, you have to, you know, then layer that over the modern life that you're living and the demands of that life and like figure out how to intertwine them in a cohesive way that is supportive for you and is sustainable for you. I think like now, especially, I don't know about you, but the daylight savings, time change, season change hit me hard. Was not ready. Even though it's nice to get an extra hour of sleep, I've just been finally, we're like 2 weeks, 3 weeks out from that now. I'm finally like starting to regulate and sleep well again. But it's just, we're going into this dark season, this cold and flu season, also like sugar, alcohol, party season. So it's just like so important to come back to those kind of primal needs of our body to be able to stay healthy.
yeah. And I think that's what our December challenge is going to be great for.
Exactly. Yes, that's why we put it together. We wanted to, have a way to cultivate this community and get you involved and make it easy and make it free. So yeah, we've got this free healthy for the holidays December challenge. So if you're somebody that feels like they get off the rails when all the parties come along or all of the tempting foods are available and the social calendar starts to get really crowded. This is just like a really simple challenge for you to just be able to check in with you. They're like really simple tips, but throughout the month, they're just going to make such a big impact on how you're feeling, how you are approaching those social gatherings, how you're approaching those big meals for the holidays,
Yeah.
and
Let's talk
having the
about
accountability and the resource of us.
enjoy ourselves, be with family, eat the cookies, drink the alcohol, be relaxed, whatever. We support that. Like we're down for that. But we want this, it's going to be basically a community of people coming together. We're going to create a group. We're going to basically just create habits throughout December of like very, very small, simple reminders. And when you're eating your 10 cookies and having your alcohol on this one December day, you might get a message from us that's like, hey, did you drink any water today? And it's just going to be simple little things that will help you like not totally derail and not totally like self-sabotage yourself.
Yeah. And I think the end goal is to get through the month. The challenge ends on the 27th, so 2 days after Christmas. The goal is to just get through the month and feel like, okay, I didn't take 10 steps backwards. Like I feel okay. I feel good actually, and I'm ready to go into the new year and like set some new goals. Like it doesn't feel like you're not going to feel bad about yourself and feel like you need to, do some crazy fad thing that's not going to last for your New Year's resolution. This is like a building block for you to just continue to create this type of lifestyle that Caroline and I have both been speaking about, that we have kind of evolved into and are continuing to evolve into
Mhm.
and learn and grow with. So it's kind of just like planting the seed.
Yeah. And if you're on the fence about it, like, I just want to say too, I want to emphasize how simple the steps are going to be and the habits that we offer. I also want to emphasize that, like, of course, we factored in that December is an expensive month. That's why we're doing this for free. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
want to help you have this, build these habits and have this like foundation and these like reminders throughout the month.
Totally. Yeah. This is meant to be just like easy entry level, easy to execute, easy to participate. And, maybe this is going to have a ripple effect for you. Maybe your friends are going to notice some of these like small little habits that you are practicing and, take a note out of your book. So we're excited
It's
about
really
that. We're going
cool.
to link the challenge in the show notes because you can sign up. It starts December 2nd. So you have all through the rest of the month of November to sign up and get loaded into the groups. And yeah, we're just really excited about that. We're really excited about all of the exciting things to come on the Inhabit Health podcast in the new year. And we just wanted to drop in and give you a little taste. I think that's it. I think we can sign off.